Hi, it's Dwyer. KeepingItFree.blogspot.com. Also, WealthSpinning.blogspot.com. You can get to those sites too by going to Always1776.com as well as Money1776.com. Let's talk about money. The reason for this video so soon to the last high-risk video, and I'll use a high-risk background when I'm talking about money, is because of recent developments in the world. Right? Understand, I really believe that folks who are in the game, folks who are on the field, just know how to read information better than folks who are living off wage income, right? Are the labor part of the labor capital equation. So I feel a moral responsibility, quite frankly, to my subscriber base. I know it's varied, but I do know, just based on who approaches me when I'm out, that African American men in particular, Latino men in particular, they actually will come up to me talking about markets. I can tell that these market videos are important videos to them. So we're going to stay on this subject, but first remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, folks, there's a full-blown situation right now. It's happening this minute in gold, right? Understand, when you turn on TV, they're not leading with this, right? But yet, this is some of the most relevant information of the time. Now, just understand, let's say I had an ounce of gold. We'll round up the numbers just so it's clean. Let's say I have an ounce of gold and it's valued at $3,000, right? And let's say I owe you $5,000. Well, understand, I'm underwater $2,000. Not only that, if I'm a sovereign nation and I say, well, I've got to borrow money to pay my debt, the creditors, right, the people in the bond auction, they're going to say, hey, man, this guy's insolvent. For me to take this risk of lending this insolvent debtor money, I'm going to need a lot of interest, a lot, on my bond, right? This guy's going to have to promise to pay me, you guess at the number, 25%, 50%, loan shark rates, for me to lend him money, because I understand there's a distinct possibility that this guy's going to go bankrupt. Now, just understand, there have been times in American history where the United States has said, okay, what we're going to do is revalue gold, right? We're going to change the price of an ounce of gold. And so just understand, the equation's different. If I own an ounce of gold, but rather than it be worth $3,000 an ounce, it's actually worth $6,000 an ounce. Right? Now suddenly I'm solvent. Now I owe you $5,000. That hasn't changed. But I now have a $1,000 net worth. Understand, if I want to borrow money because I need the money for whatever reason, now when I approach creditors, they're more willing to lend me the money because I actually have a $1,000 net worth. And I'm able to get the money at lower interest rates because I'm a better credit risk. The lender is going to say, hey, you know what? This guy's handled his money, hasn't he? Right? His assets exceed his debts. He'll be able to pay me back player, you don't have to pay me 25% interest. Right? In fact, player, you don't have to deal with a loan shark. You could actually deal with a traditional lender and just pay me the 4+% on a 30-year. Now, all of this sounds pie in the sky. I know when I was 18, and keep in mind, I came from an immigrant family where, as far as I know, my parents together never owned a share of stock. Right? Apart from my dad's pension plan with the city of New York. Right? So we weren't having conversations at the house where we were talking about the price of gold. Just understand, in New York, FDR, 1934, the Gold Reserve Act, he actually revalued gold. This is after taking everyone's gold, believe it or not. He revalued gold from $20.67 per ounce to $35 per ounce. Right? Just understand, France, 1968, they revalued their gold from $35 an ounce to $42.22 an ounce. You know a country is in trouble, certainly we do now, when that country has to leave the gold standard because they can't afford anymore to have their currency backed by gold. That's what happened in the United Kingdom in the early 1930s. So folks, what I'm talking about is not pie in the sky. What I'm talking about are things that have actually happened in history, in major economies like the United States in the 30s, France in the 60s, the United Kingdom in the 30s. So just understand what's happening now. The investment crowd knows this, right? Just understand, if I were in Newport Beach, Palo Alto, different parts of the world, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, there's going to be some financial guru who's tracking this story. Right now you have a situation where people who hold paper that's supposed to represent gold being held by a bank, a financial institution. Right now they're actually approaching the Bank of England with these paper claims on gold. Now, if in fact the gold is in the vault, this should be an easy transaction. I show up with my authenticated claim on the gold, right? I say, hey, y'all are holding some gold for me, right? Here's my paper showing that I'm entitled to an ounce of gold. And of course, the Bank of England, believe it or not, has had to approach other central banks to try to get your gold for you, the gold they're supposed to have been holding for you. Right? They don't have it. They have to borrow it. It's not in the vault. So, of course, the powers that be are covering all this up because gold is an intrinsic part of the global economy. Right? It's because countries need to have gold in order to borrow money from skeptical creditors. It's because creditors feel better knowing that there's gold in Fort Knox, which is about to be audited. Might be a mistake, quite frankly. Right? A creditor says, you know what, the United States won't default on this debt, won't give me worthless paper currency if they actually have hard assets. Maybe not backing it 1-to-1, maybe not an official gold standard, but some understanding that there's gold backing the currency. Now let me tell you how players do things. right? They know that Walmart sells gold coins. They know that Costco sells gold coins, right? Players right now understand that paper gold isn't worth as much as real gold, because some of the paper gold out there is for bars that have already been rehypothecated, right? Used for other purposes. The Bank of England right now is keeping people waiting for weeks to get their gold. Imagine if you went to your bank and you said, hey, I got a savings account. We got a baby on the way. This is one of those life moments where I need to drain my savings. Maybe you have a family member in a hospital and you're not fully insured. You got to pay that deductible. You show up at your bank, you say, hey, look, the day has come, I need to withdraw my savings. And the bank says to you, hey, player, you're going to have to wait a few weeks. We're going to have to make a few phone calls to get you the money we're supposed to have for you. Folks, that's what's happening right now in the gold market. Who knows how much the shortfall is? Right? There's a gap between all this paper gold in the economy and the actual gold that it's supposed to represent, that are being stored in vaults. Right? So if you're a player right now, you see this as an opportunity. First, you have the cash to take advantage of the opportunity because you've prepared for this. Right? You understand right now that gold is undervalued. You have no idea, and I'm serious about this. You have absolutely no idea what the rest of the world is thinking. Right? For you, you pick up the paper and the big story on page 3 of the business section is the fact that in London they're having a hard time paying off paper gold. Folks, that's the lead story. Not that Elon's having another baby. Right? It's not that Congress is upset by Doge. Right? It's not any of those nonsense stories. You understand the real story is the idea that there's a lot of paper gold out there and there's less gold than the amount of paper gold. In other words, some people are holding paper gold that they won't be able to redeem. There are going to be explanations and excuses, not gold delivery. You also understand, too, that Russia, their central bank, collecting gold. China, their central bank, collecting gold. The United States, 36 trillion with a T in debt. Right, folks, we're so desperate that right now, if you go on the debt clock here online to look up the U.S. debt, you're actually going to see that they now have a Doge savings category. And you're going to notice that the Doge savings are literally a drop in the bucket of the amount of debt we have. So let me say this, and I know you start talking gold and of course the silver crowd, and I'm a guy who owns, well, I started owning silver before I owned gold, right? I could afford silver at the time, right? Nothing against silver. I understand silver has more upside than gold. I understand Peter Schiff and people like that are saying this is the perfect time to buy silver, right? My point to you is simply, don't outthink the room. If you are storing your precious metals yourself, it is much easier to store $3,000 worth of gold, right, folks? That's just a coin. Than it is $3,000 worth of silver, right? I'll agree. If you feel there's going to come a time where you need to go to the supermarket with precious metal coins, it's much easier to go to the supermarket with a silver coin to buy eggs than it is to go with a gold coin. that if it's a 1 ounce coin is going to be $3,000 with you, and it's going to be hard to get change, right? Not that you would want change in fiat currency, right? This is not to ignore crypto, right? People know hell, I have a crypto Substack page. I believe in crypto, right? But just understand, right now you have a big shortage in gold, right? It matters. Let me also say too, recently in AI, we were all shocked, at least we were pretending to be, that DeepSeek was able to do things in the AI world much more cheaply than OpenAI, right? We were under some delusion that all the billions of dollars being spent by Microsoft and being spent by Amazon was giving them an edge in the marketplace that they didn't have, because far less was being spent on DeepSeek, and DeepSeek was able to duplicate and exceed, in some cases, the performance. Right? We understand that. You need to question anything you hear about computers. Right? I understand the head of NVIDIA came out and said, hey, we're years away from a quantum computer that would be able to destabilize cryptocurrency. Right? Folks, why would you trust statements like that? I believe firmly in cryptocurrency. Right? I'm a crypto believer. And even I understand that there is a much greater quantum computing risk for crypto than there is for gold and silver. Right? Just understand, you want to have both precious metals and crypto in your portfolio. So here you have a situation where gold looks expensive. Right? We're hearing every few days that gold's at an all-time high. Folks, if Donald Trump decides to follow the lead of FDR, and let's hope he doesn't confiscate gold, right, like FDR did. If he decides to follow the lead of FDR, and if he revalues gold upward, gold holders are just going to get free money. You're going to wake up one morning and that $3,000 coin that you have is suddenly going to be worth $4,500. Right? You're suddenly going to be told that you have $1,500 more purchasing power than you did the night before. I'm just making it on par, by the way, with what FDR did in jumping the value of gold from $20.67 an ounce to $35 per ounce. Right? This has already happened. America can't pay back its debt. Let's do the math. Housing right now is cratering in places like Florida and some parts of Texas. That's going to spread across the rest of the United States. You understand that. If the U.S. suddenly turns toward a recession, if you have a situation where people need food, people need government spending, the money has got to come from someplace. If the borrowing costs for those funds are too high, there's going to be political pressure for the Fed to cut interest rates, even though the cut might be inflationary, even though the cut might exacerbate stagflation. In perilous times like these, where we might be cutting interest rates, right, even with an elevated inflation risk, history has shown us that gold and silver are safe harbors. Now you're going to add in this dynamic where the Bank of England doesn't have the gold to pay out the holders of paper gold. right? I'm just telling you, there are many wealthy people right now who are quietly collecting gold, right? Gold, for those who don't know, and keep in mind, we're in an elevated era for the S&P 500, right? The Buffett indicator suggests that the stock market is about 100% overpriced, right? It's about twice what it should be, right? It's worth X relative to GDP, and right now it's valued at 2X, right? So just understand, as the stock market reverts to the mean, as people lose a lot of the paper wealth they have, right? I'm just telling you, there are a lot of folks who are going to say, let me get out of real estate. Let me get out of the stock market. Let me preserve my wealth by getting into gold. Not only is that going to have an upward pressure on gold, but you might have some countries like France. Didn't Macron just get knocked off? Isn't Europe in general having an economically tough time of it? Isn't Germany in recession? You're going to have some countries address their debt by revaluing gold. Right? Folks, give it a look. Just understand that you can't wait for the people around you to agree with you when it comes to money. Because by the time they do, the market, of course, will have been revalued. Your opportunity to profit big will have passed. Right? If you want to play it safe, look at Costco, look at Walmart. You can actually buy gold online. Right? Buy gold, get the physical gold given to you, so you're not one of these people with paper gold trying to trust the bank, right? Or calling me on a President's Day. Those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours. Again, I'm just telling you, financial players think differently than everyone else, right? It's moments like these, hushed moments, where you have a crowd out there that doesn't understand that gold has outperformed an elevated S&P 500. That the capital gains on gold more than offset the fact that gold doesn't pay dividends. Right? Some can call gold a barbarous relic if they are, dealing in the world of stocks and they know how to play in that world. Right? If you're someone who's just looking for appreciating assets, you need to ask yourself, how high is gold going to go from here? Right, folks? I believe the answer to that question is much higher. You can tell that looking at the shortages. Those are my thoughts. I look forward to yours in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.